Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Virtually no weakness, PFF names Steelers' best defensive line and pass rush unit in NFL. The defensive front, particularly the pass rush, is under quite a bit of fire currently for the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially after a quiet showing against the Cleveland Browns in a tough Week 12 loss on Thursday Night Football. Despite that quiet showing though, one that has many pundits wanting the Steelers to change things up and do something different along the defensive line when it comes to rushing the passer, Pro Football Focus still believes the Steelers not only have the best defensive line in football, but also the league's best pass rush, too. The Steelers' defensive line ranked number 1 in the NFL entering Week 13 from PFF's John Kosko, thanks to an 89.9 overall grade, which was far and away better than the number 2 defensive line in the NFL, that being the Philadelphia Eagles at 79.9 overall. After generally containing Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in Week 11, the Browns' offensive line provided the boost the top-ranked defensive line needed to get back on track. The Steelers' defensive line graded as the second-best unit of the week with an 80.1 overall grade, led by Nick Herbig's 93.2 overall grade in the game, Kosko writes regarding the Steelers' defensive line. On the season, T.J. Watt's 92.7 overall grade is the best in the NFL, excluding Aiden Hutchinson, while Cameron Hayward, Herbig, and Alex Highsmith all boast grades better than 87.2. No defensive line has as much star power as the Steelers in 2024. On paper, the Steelers are very clearly the best defensive line in football, especially when you include the likes of outside linebackers T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, and Nick Herbig. Add those three into the defensive line of Cameron Hayward, Keanu Benton, and Larry Ogunjobi, and it's clear just how good the Steelers' defensive line is. So far this season, the Steelers have one of the best run defenses in football, sitting fourth in the NFL in rushing yards per game allowed at just 90.3, behind only the Minnesota Vikings, Baltimore Ravens, and Kansas City Chiefs. On top of that, the Steelers have the fourth best defense in the NFL from a points per game perspective, allowing just 16.9 points per game, behind only the Los Angeles Chargers, Detroit Lions, and Denver Broncos. The defensive line has been a point of criticism lately though, due to some struggles generating a consistent pass rush in recent weeks, especially in Week 12 against the Browns, and struggling in short yardage situations to stop the run and get off the field. Overall though, they remain an outstanding group with Hayward having a terrific year bouncing back from injury, while Ogunjobi and Benton have been sound pieces in the trenches. On the outside, Watt has been a playmaker once again, while Highsmith has struggled with injuries. But when he's healthy, Highsmith is a force opposite Watt. Same for Herbig, who just has a knack for making splash plays in big spots, much like his mentor in Watt. From a pass rush perspective, PFF still believes the Steelers are the best pass rush, too, even though they don't lead the league in sacks. However, they do have the league's best pass rush grade at 90.3, ahead of the Eagles at 86.9. There's really no surprise here, as the Steelers' pass rushing unit virtually has no weaknesses, Kosko writes of the Steelers' pass rush unit. Herbig's 92.0 grade is the best on the team, and Hayward's is next best, with an elite 90.0. Meanwhile, Keanu Benton's 82.0 pass rush grade is the fifth best on the team. The unit as a whole has a 52.3% pass rush win rate, second best in the NFL, plus the most batted passes in the NFL at 16. Time and time again, the Steelers find a way to generate pressure on opposing quarterbacks, oftentimes with just four-man rushes. That pass rush has been led by the likes of Hayward, Watt, Highsmith, and Herbig, and has been quite good throughout the season, even with a rough patch against the Browns. The fact that guys like Highsmith and Herbig are performing opposite Watt, even with all the attention paid to Watt, is encouraging, too. The Steelers have a truly elite pass rush that is going to win more often than not. That much is clear. hopefully it continues throughout back end of a tough schedule. Van Jefferson and 3 Steelers who should be gone after Thanksgiving. The Pittsburgh Steelers are in the home stretch of the 2024 regular season. Though Mike Tomlin's team has dropped several winnable games against less than formidable opponents this year, the Steelers are still on the fast track for a playoff spot. With the trade deadline long past, Pittsburgh needs to explore every avenue to upgrade its roster for a playoff push. Several players are technically part of the team, but have just been along for the ride, nothing more. Finding free agent gems this late in the season is unlikely, but there are 4 players on Pittsburgh's roster who offer almost nothing to the team at this point in the season. Van Jefferson is one of them. Here are 4 players who need to be gone after Thanksgiving. In the Blizzard Bowl against the Browns on Thursday Night Football, Jefferson nabbed 2 catches for 39 yards. Ironically, this is more than you could expect from him at any other point in the season. With the Steelers trading for Mike Williams just before the deadline, what is the sense of deploying an underwhelming wideout who doesn't offer a niche trait to his game? Interestingly, the Steelers still have Van listed as a starting wide receiver on their latest depth chart, but I would take this with a grain of salt. Jefferson is a WR2 by default only, but Pittsburgh is better off with virtually every other wide receiver on the field, or tight end, for that matter. Steelers fans got excited about the addition of Dean Lowry this offseason. But apart from getting his hands up on a field goal attempt, Lowry's presence on the football field in 2024 has practically gone unnoticed. The aging defensive lineman has a part-time role on defense and barely sees the field. According to Pro Football Focus, he's also on track to grade out as one of the worst interior defenders in the NFL this year. Literally any option they could grab in free agency at this point could supplement Lowry's role and then some. Pittsburgh Steelers defensive tackle goes down with hip injury. Pittsburgh Steelers defensive tackle Keanu Benton popped up on Thursday with a hip injury. He was limited in practice. Benton suffered an injury against the Baltimore Ravens a week and a half ago that Mike Tomlin called a non-issue. Benton was not injured during practice, sources tell PennLive. This issue is not expected to keep Benton out of the Steelers game against the Cincinnati Bengals, so Benton should be fine to play in that game. Backup nose tackle Montravius Adams was limited as well as he works his way back from a torn meniscus. Alex Highsmith is working his way back after returning on Thursday from a low ankle sprain. It is expected that Highsmith could play against the Bengals, but it will be up to the trainers, who will evaluate how his ankle responds late in the week to practice. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Keanu Benton? Leave your opinion in the comments.